All right, welcome back to Equal Time Soccer. I'm Matt Pravratsky alongside my brother Mark. We have maybe the biggest Mankato legend of all time. I added that moniker under
Tim
her name.
Walls. Tim Walls might argue.
Tim Walls is from Nebraska, baby.
He's from Omaha.
He's from Nebraska. Jenny Vetter, born and bred a Mankato star through and through. Jenny, thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah, I'm super excited. Thanks for having me.
You just, we'll get into some of what you've been doing this fall in the USL Super League later. But first, your sister's on the coaching staff for the Mavericks. You obviously were a longtime Maverick star. I'm assuming maybe even some of you still have some teammate overlap with some of the current players. What's it feel like first time in program history for a long, big-time contender, Minnesota State Mankato, but first, a program first to make it to the championship game? What's the alumni group chat like? What's the vibe like, Jenny?
Yeah, I think we're all just so excited for this program. I think it's been a long time coming, just even getting to the Final Four and in this position. And I think for a long time, there's just been the belief that this program can go on deep postseason runs, and it's so rewarding to kind of see it come to fruition for this group.
Yeah, a big moment, not just for like this team, but honestly, I think it really does show, even for a state like Minnesota to have a program in here, even just for D2, we love covering the NSIC because players like you come out of it and are, you're playing professionally, like you're playing in, a top flight league in America as a D2 alum. So just kind of cool to get this shine too. Like like whether they win or lose. And I think it'll be it should be like a really
when
good
they
game.
win, Matt.
When they win.
Come on.
When they win. Yeah, we don't care about Cal Poly Pomona. Like they can, no, of course. But yeah, just a really cool, like when you talk to the players, or even if you've texted with like Brian Ball, the head coach, are they doing the thing where they sort of say they're not nervous, even if you think maybe they are nervous? Are they doing the thing where they're, putting on a brave face?
Yeah, one game at a time, even though there's only one left. Yeah.
Yeah, I genuinely think like it's not even a face. I think that they're just like ready and like willing to take in this moment, and I think that the group itself is really together and really strong from a culture point, and I think that carries you a long way, and you don't need to feel nervous when you trust people next to you. So
yeah.
Jenny, what were I kind of like the gold mix-up. Is there any purple accent on those gold jerseys? I wonder which ones were your favorite, because you have purple ones, and then what other jerseys do you have?
They have so many. So these are new this season, I think. So they've got some purple stripes on them. When I was there, we had gold long sleeves, purple long sleeves, purple short sleeve, white short sleeve, gray short sleeve. So I always liked wearing the gray. That was one of my favorites. But
yeah. Were you one who liked the long sleeves? And did you also, because I've been bartending a lot of European soccer in the winter now, where it's like guys wearing gloves or not? I'm kind of like, you kind of like have dissected. Were you one who would put gloves on? Were you quick to wear a headband? How did you deal with the cold?
Yeah, I feel like gloves were fine for me if it was cold enough, and I feel like we liked the long sleeves, but then I'd end up like rolling them up anyways. So it was kind of funny, but yeah.
Well, and I'm curious too, so we said first time in program history, and I don't know if folks need this help or not, but Mankato is in the gold going right to left. Cal Poly's in white going left to right. I'm sure you can tell that.
That's such a broadcaster. He's such a broadcaster.
Well, I don't know how much is obvious or not to regular people. But we mentioned this is the first time that the Mavs are in the championship game, but they have been to the Elite Eight, like very deep runs before. A lot of like Sweet 16, so a lot of tournament chops like from this program. I remember I think watching you in 2019 in the Elite Eight. Talk about like players, when we do like an interview in a show, a lot of times players and coaches have to be like, oh no, we're still doing the same thing, nothing's different, but like it feels different by the time you're deep in the NCAA tournament, like the pressure, like emotionally, mentally. What do you remember back to that in terms of, we've already played a ton of conference championships, we've made it to the NCAAs, but actually did the Elite Eight like feel different than when you were in the opening round or whatever? Like, was there a difference to you?
Yeah, I think when each round you go, you kind of just, your belief starts to pick up. Like no matter how you got there, you're like, wow, like we're 3 games away, we're 2 games away. So I think each round your confidence just grows and grows, and I think that can be really powerful. I think you've seen it even in this run that the Mavs have had, and each game they're looking better and more confident. And no matter if they had to go to PKs the previous game, they just like go into the next one with that much more momentum. So I think that's like the different feeling of the NCAA tournament compared to a conference, because you're playing the same people you've seen once or maybe twice already that year. So yeah.
Did you ever have a year, Jenny, where you personally like felt actually, I think we might be able to win it? Like was there a certain year where, and maybe you didn't even make it that far in the NCAAs, but through the course, like a regular season, and you were actually like, actually, I think we might be at the time where we're going to win it. Like, did you have a year like that, and maybe you didn't even?
Or even just did the seasons feel different from one another? Like, were there ones that actually felt better or worse in terms of, oh, we kind of have, the back line's so great, or and like you were a constant, obviously, but were there years that felt like more or less possible like that?
Yeah, I think obviously in 2019 the belief was there, and we ended up losing to Grand Valley, who at that time was probably at their peak of like their power and their runs and stuff, and went on to be the national championship. So it's like, that could have been a year where if we didn't meet the Midwest region every year, we probably could have gone further. So I think that's what also makes our region so tough, is there are so many good teams, both in the Central region and in the Midwest. So I think for us, it's getting past those same old opponents, and
I mean, just the fact that by the fact that Mankato being in the championship game means they beat both Central Missouri and Grand Valley State, and you're talking about two of just the most prolific Central region, and not even Central region, the most prolific like middle of the country D2 teams like in college soccer. Just when you read the list of like who they go through, it just seems so insane, like to take down teams like that. And for a heads up for folks, just because we do have the keeper split, and I myself always triple check who's playing which half, Claire Longville is in there now. So just for we've been seeing a decent amount of set pieces, and if there's an epic play, I want to make sure we give credit to the right keeper of two badass keepers that play for Mankato.
Yeah. So I mean, Jenny, you're now in like it's the first league in the U.S. you're playing in that does fall to spring, and there's still a winter break. So you kind of have like, I don't know, I'm sure you go back to train early, but like there is like, I don't know how much you're actually off, 6 weeks or 4 weeks or something. Do you have plans? Just kind of hanging out? Like what are you going to do in this break?
Yeah, so I have a vacation planned, so that'll be really good. And otherwise just getting back to Minnesota and spending some time with family and being able to enjoy being home. I think for our team in particular, this break is needed, and to kind of reset and decompress. And it's been a long first half of the year for us, and had to kind of deal with some adversities. So I think for us, it should be pretty positive, and then to still come back and have almost like a mini preseason again, I think it's going to be really good for us.
Yeah, you've been through basically 2 years in a row of essentially like starting a team from scratch, the USL Super, right? Like racing, that was their first year, right? And then in Portugal, if folks haven't watched Jenny on our show before, went over there, crushed it in Portugal, got her opportunity to play for Spokane in the Super League. The Super League is even next level because it's not just a new team, it's a new league. So even when I was watching those early games, I remember seeing like random criticism of this game or that game or some team or another team. And I remember in my head thinking how insane it was for someone to have like a firm take on the soccer when the teams like just hadn't even existed yet. I was like, wait, you're judging their run of play? Like they've been together for like 10 days. Like, what are you doing?
Someone has to. Yeah.
I think it's interesting, like, you compare it to, I mean, you're always going to compare it to the NWSL, right? And so it's like, so you look at, I mean, NWSL has been 2 rounds of expansion in the last 4 years or whatever it's been. And whenever an expansion teams come, they're given a bit of grace. And it's like, oh, well, they're an expansion team, like it's hard.
Right.
And so you're talking about a league that is now 8 expansion teams, essentially. So you're going to have times that it's not pretty soccer, or, it's not going right. And every club is figuring out who they want to be. And, it's a lot. So.
Yeah, well, even the comparison we do sometimes, because we cover the summer league, so like the WPSL, USLW, UPSL now, even comparing, for example, college to summer, like it's unfair to think of them as the same thing because the same like setup is not in place. So like in a college team, same roster every year, coaching staff same every year. Oh, corner for the Mavs.
Whoa! The keeper from the hardest team to say, Cal Poly Pomona, but their keeper came out, didn't make the play, pounced on it.
Whoa!
Who got it? Oh my god!
It's Courtney Kovacs gets the goal.
Not an easy finish. Like oh, look at the bros. Good. Okay.
Oh, look
at
this.
Those Mankato bros.
Wow.
Had to be.
Great off the bounce. Look at this off the bounce hit.
She didn't punch it. She just tipped it. She maybe
That's just reflex. That is wow. We should say too, we didn't do much of a breakdown of what this year's Mavs team has been like. The simplest way to describe it is they've been almost unbeatable defensively. So their goals against average, save percentage, all otherworldly crazy stuff. Like, I think Longville has the highest save percentage in D2, like blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And so they have had to win games late. Like they have had to score goals late in tournament play because the other team is also so strong. So an early goal is crazy, like for this team. To get a goal early is insane.
Do you ever, Jenny, would you ever text? So Jenny's sister is a coach on the Minnesota State Mankato squad. Would you ever text her during a game to like maybe at halftime, like try to get something across?
I think
feel yes, like it looks like yes.
What I text her is probably so random that she's not even on her phone. Like,
you mean you're texting her about a show you're binging? Like you're not texting her.
It's like woohoo, we scored! Like I'm just like.
So you're
nothing tactical is going on.
You're not saying like we got to get Maddie Archer out wide instead of central. You're not sending in like we got to invert the outside backs.
All right. Yeah, well, I'm just saying you could try it. Yeah, try it.
Yeah.
I'm
going to leave them alone today.
Matt mentioned you, and I mentioned Tim Walls, but I'm like, honestly, since you're someone from Mankato, was there times people asking you questions? Were you guys hype about it? I mean, like I've met the dude, nice guy, solid dude. But like for people from Mankato, were you all hyped up when he was getting all his shine for like a couple weeks?
Yeah, it was like so awesome. And they're a soccer family. They Hope played for Mankato United, Mankato West. Cool. Played against her, played with her, and so.
Well, now I like Tim Walls more. Now the cool.
Yeah, so
that's awesome.
To have that, I mean, it's not like I'm best friends with them, but like just to have that small connection to someone like that is pretty cool. And like all my teammates in Spokane were like, "Oh my god, like." He's from where you are, right? And I'm like, yep, he is. He is.
All of a sudden, now everyone has to know how to say Mankato, and they have to care where Mankato is.
You're too young to have him as a teacher, though, right? Because he was gone. I listened to him tell boring stories in history class. Oh my god! Yeah. No. He was already into Congress by then. But yeah, that was. I mean, hey, he did it well. I mean, he repped us well. He got a good, genuine vibe out there. I think even though he's a Nebraskan, he did Minnesota well in this time.
Well, and Jenny, I'm curious too. Like, you mentioned every team being new in the Super League, and one thing I've been super curious about is how teams will sort of, the winter break actually would be good just mentally and emotionally, probably, like just to have a little time off. But I'm sure it'll be also some teams will make some tweaks because, like you said, you'll kind of have your little, some danger. Nice, goes wide. You'll kind of have your little mini camp to get a chance to okay, we rewatch tape, realize we should do X, Y, and Z on set pieces or whatever. For you, how new did it feel? Like, how crazy did it feel to be on another brand new team? Like, was it that level of, oh, who knows what the role will be? Who knows what the size of the, how the offense will feel? Who knows? Like, was it, because you've done it twice in a row now, but it has to have, like, how did that feel trying to settle in, and how different does it feel now from just like 6 months ago?
Yeah, I think obviously last season it's like first time as a pro. There's a lot of like newness that comes with that anyways. So I think it felt like it didn't feel abnormal because everything was different. And so I think then like going through that and not feeling like that was this crazy thing coming to Spokane, it was like, oh, this is like kind of what I did last year. So it's like it's not normal, but it's a bit of my normal at the same time. So it was different and stuff, but it was like easily adaptable to at the same time.
Yeah.
So.
Well, in the home field, you guys, so some of the teams have struggled like turning folks out, but again, that's front offices are new, everyone is new. Like, as someone who's had to start a team from scratch, I know how and not at that level, but
really varied stadium situations, like very different for each team.
And so Spokane probably, you would say pretty objectively, has like one of the best home field setups. The fact that it's team owned, or at least team operated. I think maybe it's the public stadium, whatever, but you got the USL League One team in there, the Velocity, you have the Zephyr, the Super League team in there, averaging over 2,500 fans a game, which is pretty sweet. For you, what's the home field felt like? Like, has it felt like now you actually have some sort of home field advantage? Because like when a team is brand new, there's not really such a thing as home field advantage.
Yeah, I think we are like front office and everything has done a really good job of like engaging the community, and you have to start small. You can't just want to be a nation recognized team. Like if you're not recognized within your own city, like that's a problem. So I think that they've done a really good job of like building our identity in Spokane first, and then like still continuing to grow that presence elsewhere. And I think like we hit a really good sweet spot of stadium size with turnout numbers, and we've played in a couple stadiums that are so massive that like it's going to feel empty no matter how many people are there. So I think we're really lucky to be in a space that makes sense for us. And is new as well. It looks great. I mean, for a turf, it's the best turf that they could find. So I think we're pretty lucky.
How are you adjusting to the turf life, Jenny? Because you played a lot of grass. How was it for you? I mean, you're a runner. How are your knees doing?
They're all right. It's definitely like it was adjustment at first, and now it's just like, oh, that's just what it is. So
there's a consistency. Like I hadn't played until I was an adult and played in like a rec league where it's like always on turf. And you're like, oh, I mean, it is different, but you're kind of like, okay, you know what it is, like you know how it's gonna play, and like But do they wet the turf? Do they? They do.
Yeah.
So then it would play really. Yeah, that would play really good.
Yeah.
What's
and I'll go ahead.
No, you go.
I was gonna say I'll always have like an affinity for grass. Like it's just it's hard to beat a nice grass field, but Washington and over the winter and stuff, you just got to do what makes sense. So
look, we're animals, Jenny. We're meant to be walking on the grass. We're monkeys. Come on, Matt. Don't argue with me.
He's acting as if I've ever disagreed with that statement. As if I was disagreeing. I'm just laughing at how absurd you are. And shout out to the pitch, the folks who both maintain and operate the soccer field down at Minnesota State Mankato, because it's so high quality that we actually had a St. Cloud player come on and mention it was like her favorite place to play just because the field is so nice. So Anna Spain came on. She was like, she didn't have to talk trash. She just said, she's like, actually, I love playing at the pitch.
I wonder do you think, Jenny, are the dads down there with the air raid siren? Do you think? I don't know.
With the what sign?
With the air raid siren, they have
World War. They have like the fans contingency down there, so I would not be surprised.
There must have been a good squad of parents who went down there.
Yeah, sure. There's a really good group down there. So
Well, because
I'm really happy.
for it being a neutral site, like you can tell this side is kind of empty, but when they showed the other side with the camera side, there actually was like a decent squad. For it's in North Carolina, the teams from California and Minnesota. There's no neutral fan, So it could be worse. Like there actually are some people there.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And later on in the show, we'll have Kevin Beisman joining, the Minnesota State Mankato athletic director. I believe he's joining from the stand, so we will also have an on-the-ground camera for ourselves.
Good.
I'm curious. We're talking about sort of away stadiums and home stadiums, all that. I'm curious. You've now gone through the whole fall schedule for the USL Super League, so you've presumably done these trips now. You've got them underway. So I'm curious which one of these trips was sort of the most fun, either for non-soccer reasons or for the soccer stadium reasons. Maybe both of those.
Where was the nicest hotel, Jenny? What was the nicest hotel?
Okay. Fort Lauderdale was probably the nicest hotel.
Okay. Hang out with Messi. You probably hung out with Messi, right?
Right.
You hung out with Messi.
Just a couple of short kings, Jenny Vedder and Lionel Messi, just hanging out.
She's taller than him, I think. Honestly, I think.
But I think DC was a really fun trip. Just in general, had a really good area and could do some sightseeing and stuff. I'd never been out there, so that was really fun.
Did you stay in DC? Were you in Virginia or were you in DC?
We were in DC, we could walk to the monuments.
That stadium, the stadium's in a good spot, and it's a really nice vibe, and it's tight. It's cool,
and it was cool to be in Audi Field, not the one of the smaller turnouts, I would say, but the stadium is really nice, and to be there is cool, and
Well, and it is funny because some of these trips I was watching, DC was playing in Lexington yesterday, and Lexington is such a funny spot because they are in a dedicated stadium. It looks kind of cool on the broadcast, and obviously they have a men's USL, I think, League One team down there, whatever. But it's also just easily the hardest market to get to in the whole league. And so I'm imagining even your travel, it's so funny because New York, obviously you can get to New York, even Dallas, whatever. Actually, you guys might be sort of another kooky market for people. I don't know.
It would be. That's a connecting point for sure.
I think we have had a layover every flight but one.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, because you guys, I suppose, where do you typically lay over, in Denver or something, or what's it been like for you most of the time?
Yeah, we've hit Denver. We're a pro at the Denver airport at this point. Yeah.
Do you ever see Rachel Dolezal at the Spokane airport? She's the most famous person from Spokane. I'm sorry, I had to ask. Hopefully not.
This is the most topical reference of all time.
It's a watch along. Yeah. We're not doing broadcasts. This is a watch along.
Someone who was in the news.
I don't know anyone in Spokane. I had to ask about Rachel Dolezal.
Actually, probably Gonzaga.
She didn't answer though. But I'm sorry, Danny.
Honestly, the big Gonzaga athletes are probably close to celebrities out there.
Yeah, you can't get tickets to a Gonzaga game. It's just
you guys still shame on. Let me say that shame on Gonzaga athletics. Come on, get the Spokane Zephyr women in there. You see the Aurora players. Come on, they got space. I would love it.
Yeah.
There's not that many local sports teams to highlight. I'm sure they have a minor league baseball team or something, but you guys you're it, man. Yeah.
Well, Jenny, we don't want to take any more of your time. You have to stressfully watch the rest of this game.
Yep.
Just a Minnesota State Mankato legend, a Mankato area legend in her own right. That's why I added that label.
Mankato East, baby. Go East.
We got it right this time? Okay, good.
I looked it up. To be sure.
Well, Jenny, thank you so much for joining us. Enjoy your break from the USL Super League. Just got done with the fall season with Spokane Zephyr. Thanks so much for joining us.
Yep. Thanks for having me, guys.
Good.
All right.
Thanks again.
Jenny Vedder, what a big timer. And now we're keeping things rolling. We got as many Mavs big timers as we can get. We got Kevin Beisman, the athletic director for Minnesota State Mankato. Kevin, first time for the soccer team being in the championship game. Talk about what it means for the Mavs?
It's so exciting. They've been working so hard, and they've built, just an unbelievable program here. A lot of soccer alumni that are here in the stands today that, tried to break through and make this happen, and to get to this championship game is a testimony to all that came before them.
And this
you
team,
end up with so many teams going through playoffs at once. Like, the football team was in a big run. How do you? I mean, you want to get to all of it. It's like good for you. You got to go to this. I mean, it's a rare opportunity for a national championship. It must be tough sometimes to make the choices. Like, how do you pick? You have to try to balance it, right? How do you make those choices of where to go? Because it's a little political.
Didn't have to make any choices. I got to fly into Charlotte on Thursday. Watched the soccer match on Friday. Took off right from the parking lot. Drove with Rustin Ludke through the night down to Valdosta, Georgia, and watched a football game. Caught a ride to Tallahassee last night. Flew back to Charlotte. And here I am.
Wow. So what you're saying is you can do it all. You can do it all, Kevin. Amazing. Wow. Well, an embarrassment of riches. Your teams are succeeding so much. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and Kevin, you've been, the AD down there a long time. I've known you for a while. For folks who maybe can't put two and two together, Kevin Beisman is the father of Kenna Beisman, who was an equal time favorite for the Gopher soccer program. And so I've known you a long time, Kevin. You're very sort of well known and respected in the AD sort of circles. Like, people speak of you very highly. And like, getting a team to the championship like this, the hockey team has been successful in the past, the football team has been. But what do these deep runs do just in terms of, does it raise awareness? Does it make kids more interested in going there? Like, I'm assuming these are sort of big moments for the institution, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I've got to commend President Inch. He did 2 commencement exercises and hosted a holiday party, and then flew out here late last night to join me. We did that run in the spring with the men's and women's basketball championships. It just certainly raises the level of awareness around Minnesota State University and Maverick Athletics, and we've got a tie soccer match now.
Oh no, we got intel on the ground, so we're about to see it on our
We're about
end,
to see
Kevin.
it. We're about to see it, Kevin. Yeah.
Well, I'm not sure how far behind we are. We're
a little bit.
Usually it's around 50 seconds, so we're about to see.
What is your, Kevin? While we wait, what's your favorite sport?
Well, you're supposed to say all of them, but
that's what I'd expect you to say. But I want you to tell us really what's your favorite sport, Kevin.
Oh, we talked over you, Kevin. Mark talked over your answer. You said you want to say all of them, but then you gave an honest answer. We talked over you.
Yeah. Certainly today's soccer, and soccer's our family sport.
This is a pro. I was gonna say you could say decathlon or something and try to take as much as you can. Yeah.
So. Yeah, we just got to see the goal. Cal Poly gets one back. Just a tough one from distance. The Mavs have been resilient in their other games. I'm sure they can come back in the semi.
That is a fluky goal.
That's tough.
That is tough.
Well, Kevin, it's obviously very loud there. We really appreciate you joining. We won't take too much more of your time, but is there anything about Minnesota State Mankato, anything about the Mavs that maybe folks, if you're talking to a random audience that happens to be tuning in, sell the Mavs to the viewers, Kevin?
Absolutely. I mean, we talk about MavFam and sticking together, and MavFam is real. All of our programs are cheering for Maverick soccer today. This is a resilient bunch. Look for them to pull it out in the second half.
That's great. Well, Kevin, we won't take more of your time. Really appreciate you tuning in from out east, and we're rooting for the Mavs, baby. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Kev. Glad you got to be there in person, bud. It looks fun. Thank you, buddy.
All right, that's great. Nice. Well, even the Mavs, when they go up early, I'm sure they expected there to be a challenge, and so.
And I can't talk to a Beisman without remembering my favorite memory with one, which is when I first started doing summer coverage for Equal Time, and I walked to a game that had Salvo in it, and his daughter was playing, and she was the one person I could recognize by sight that have not done it a lot.
Yeah.
I walked up to her, and she thought I was Matt, but I had long hair and a mustache. She's like, you look wild, dude. I was like, no, yeah, I get it, but it's I know, yeah, no, I'm not mad. But yeah, I would for Matt. Yeah, it would look crazy, dude. Back when I could grow my hair out long.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That was
The days.
that might have even been in the Fire days, like the original Fire.
Yeah, they could have been playing those naming conventions were crazy. 98 Fire SC,
Fire 90. Yeah.
They had some it was like a trademark situation where it's like, why are you getting so technical?
Yeah. There's some context. So Kevin, really appreciate Kevin joining us. First of all, Kevin is really
kind of a big timer, yeah.
He's very he's very revered in athletics in general. There were multiple times during the shutdown when sort of restart of play and stuff they had to figure out testing, they had to figure out requirements, and Kevin was actually regularly the person the newspaper, even the Star Tribune would talk to, because he's just seen as being a very leading voice in athletics.
Put the initiative to really try to make it go.
He was the person where he would have to say if the NCAA was going to do a certain type of testing, like daily testing, he was like, well, I'm just telling you, for us that would be X millions of dollars. That would be our entire, it's like,
right.
Then we need the support of, and they're just a really successful athletic program. I mean, they also, the big thing we can say about them is they invest very heavily they resource their programs. And so these, the Mavs, they are very well resourced in D1 and D2. No matter what the level is, there's always a difference in the amount of institutional support these programs get. And so Kevin and university leadership are a big part of sort of making sure this team is supported and the players have what they need and all that kind of stuff. So he's just been, they've been a long time, successful athletics program across sports. So just a big moment for NSIC, big moment for them.
Yeah, it's like we always talk about, people stay put at these programs, like the D2 programs in Minnesota, especially. It's just, they're solid gigs, and people get good situations for their family and the job, and they stay there for a long time. Well, and also I'll say, I'm seeing the number of people watching. Shout out. Thank you, guys. That's plenty of people watching.
Also, I believe for sure on Facebook, I think on YouTube, if you leave a comment, I think it will show up for us. So if you have random stuff that we should talk about or things we're messing up, correct us.
No, let's say our personal cell phone number and you can text me. I'd prefer a text, but I don't want to have to say it.
I think we'd be safe. I think we could maybe even say it out loud.
I'm here at the Black Cart. Thank you to the Black Cart for letting me use the space. I had to find out the prices changed by just using the register. Apparently, I got an email about it. It's crazy. Send me a letter at least.
Mark is on a roll with I think that's the third absolute who cares you've had today.
I've been bartending 5 of the last 6 days, and watch along is casual. What can I say? I take soccer seriously.
Yeah. I will say too, being in the championship game, I mean Jenny spoke to it a little bit, the idea of each round builds the confidence.
Can't imagine.
It still just blows my mind at how stressful it would feel to have to be playing for a national championship. We watch a lot of really good soccer, and these players are dialed in and the coaches are smart and all that stuff, but just as humans, I cannot. I know.
Well, we never played in a game of real consequence. It's we never had a. We never were in a
even in the section tournament, we were playing schools a lot bigger than us.
We knew we'd lose.
In soccer, we were a town of 1,000 people playing Grand Rapids. They were 5 times bigger than us as a high school or whatever. And you go in, and I remember being so ridiculously overly nervous. I can't. But that's why I always talk about the tournament experience, because you really do have to play a ton of knockout soccer.
Ooh, let's see.
So that you're used to it, because then mentally and emotionally you've been there. So even
everyone on Mankato has been in pressure games, because they just are always putting themselves in that position. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and I forgot earlier when Jenny was on and mentioned Grand Valley State. I just thought, because when I was broadcasting the Big Ten tournament, I actually mentioned Grand Valley State multiple times, because
Oh, that guy became the Michigan State coach?
The Iowa coach is also a former head coach, and now Illinois hired a woman back who used to be on staff there and then left to be the head coach at Grand Valley. So now at least 3 Big Ten coaches are from Grand Valley State. So when you mentioned
these athletic directors are not creative. They just go back to the well. I mean, hey, you go to what worked. They're the winningest D2 program.
Well, so we'll just see who their next coach is, because whoever it is will be coaching in the Big Ten.
Okay, so all I have to do is get hired at Grand Valley State, and then I'll become okay, cool. Because I think either Minnesota State Mankato played them early this year, right? Or last. They play them a lot. They challenge themselves. I mean, the Mankato squad, like, they pick the best teams in the region. They play them.
They didn't play Grand Valley in non-conference this year, but they did play Central
last
Missouri.
Year they did, yeah. The Jennies, Central Missouri,
of course.
Which is a female donkey, which is something I know now. Why?
We know this. Yeah, we do know this. I think that's from a previous watch along.
It's from every year.
so they're run an NCAA tournament, for example. For the Mavs, they beat fellow NSIC program St. Cloud State. Actually, before that game, head coach Brian Ball literally came up to me, said, "Hey, thanks for being here," and he chatted. And like, the first sentence out of his mouth, other than saying hi, was, "Can't we make a rule where conference teams don't play each other in the first game?" Like, where?
Oh no, I wanted them to say. I thought you were going to say. He said they're going down.
Oh, that'd be great. That'd be great. No, but it's like multiple years in a row. St. Cloud. So
it's so regional, yeah.
Well, but even regional, there could be a priority to not,
Yeah, it would. I get that, because it is kind of, yeah. I could see that, where it's like, it's nice for travel or whatever costs, I guess. But I do get the idea of, yes, we don't have to have the same team play. They just played in the conference tournament or something.
Well, the extreme example is last year, St. Cloud, like
a 3-timer. They did 3.
Yeah, they played in the regular season, they played in the conference tournament, and they played in the NCAAs. And frankly, some years teams add, well, maybe not with Jamestown coming in, but that sometimes they even have a non-conference slate. So it's I mean, who cares? But it is pretty wild.
I mean, I love that. Yeah, it definitely develops the bitter. That's why everyone wants to beat Minnesota State. But I mean, all the other teams, like Midgey and everyone, they're like, we want to beat Minnesota State.
Good look at the
bros. Good job, bros. Look, if you're a Minnesotan from Mankato and you're down in North Carolina, temperate as hell. Look.
Yeah.
No shirt, no problem.
Let's see. 44 degrees. It does look a little wet. It says 50% chance of precipitation, so I don't know if it rained earlier or has a chance to rain. But 44 degrees is pretty solid.
It's good for soccer, but if it's wet, it's kind of gnarly.
Yeah, Mark.
Wingate University. Yeah, that's where they're playing.
Yeah, really nice stadium.
It is especially for a small college to have like a soccer stadium like that. It's really good.
We mentioned when we had Jenny on earlier, the Spokane Stadium out there. That's a really cool standalone venue. She mentioned playing at DC. In the winter and spring, we're gonna try and get to some of those on the ground to sort of be able to watch, just to be able to see. But we'll see what we're able to make. The schedule's actually. It's a pretty long winter break, so games don't start again until February.
Yeah. No, it'll be cool when theoretically Madison has put in to have a team, which that would make it cool for us to have a local angle and have a kind of source for local talent. So hopefully that, I think it's still up in the air, but that would be really fun because it would be our parents still have an apartment in Tampa, so we try to find if it's convenient to go to Tampa to watch games, but you still gotta we'll see in the spring. I got a bartend for the Loons, baby. They overlap. But. But it would be fun to go down. I have no idea what that stadium's like another high school one they converted, right?
Yeah, so a few of the setups in the Super League, I might remember all of them. I can't remember, but the Tampa one is a high school that's sort of on the water, so it's kind of cool. And they basically came up with a deal. It's actually vaguely similar to what the Boston NWSL team tried to do or are doing.
Except the Boston one is like $200 million now.
Well, but that's not. I don't think that one is. I think
it is. No, it is.
Well, they're basically doing a build out. They're paying to build out a stadium at this high school. It's vaguely near downtown and it's right on the water, so it's kind of cool. And so that one, is a little bit different than DC is playing at DC at Audi Field, or at least they did in the fall. I'm not sure if it's guaranteed for the spring.
It's going to be crowded. They have like a rugby team too, and like a spring football. But
Brooklyn is trying to build a stadium, I think, on Coney Island. But for now, the Super League team is playing at Columbia, actually. So I think in Manhattan.
Yeah, I think they might move to a baseball field the Coney baseball one next year. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
and then Dallas plays in the Cotton Bowl, so that's the one we've referenced a few times that like literally holds 90 plus.
All you have to do is draw 90,000.
Yeah,
and it looks great. Yeah.
So that's a big one. Spokane plays in that dedicated soccer stadium that's pretty cool, and it's right downtown. I'm actually excited to go see that one for sure.
That would be honestly, that'd be cool to go see.
Carolina Ascent plays in Charlotte, I believe what's called American Legion Stadium, and it seats I think it seats around 10,000. They've actually, I think, had the best attendance.
Yeah. If you get a few thousand there, it can still, you can get a vibe. Yeah.
And they I think have the, I'll look it up again, but I think they've actually been drawing like north of 4 a game, which is actually really cool. And I think their opener had like 10.
Yeah.
So they, filled the opener, which is always kind of cool.
That league having some competing markets will always make it like tough for a few of them to get traction or whatever, but it is. Well, I mean, it's starting and it seems like, the players are there and they're playing and they're getting paid. That's the main thing. I mean, and we go from there. So I love it. I mean, it's Jacksonville got officially announced. There's plenty of teams that when the league started were announced as 20 to 25 teams, but those shouldn't be thought of as being confirmed until we see the official follow-up announcement. So for example, Jacksonville will be starting next year too. Mark mentioned that Madison at one point was listed as 2025. I would assume that's pushed. Indy 11 at one point was listed as 2025, so we'll see when that happens. They could if they want, if their stuff was sorted. I mean, they have the, we should. So super excited for the spring season to see where that goes. I'm fingers crossed that some of these teams maybe will sign more Minnesotans over the winter. Not sure. Yeah. Well, it is why it's relevant. Like, I mean, we're just we're just talking about it, but it is is the new leagues. Like Canada has a new league coming next year too, WPSL Pro. So it's like we have a lot of players who at least they don't have to make it their whole life to play soccer, but there are chances. Like there are plenty of players who would, if given the chance, could have some fun trying to be a pro soccer player. So the Canadian, I'm really excited to see the Canadian League just for what it could be. We should also mention, just in terms of actual soccer going on in December, this will be the last sort of game we cover in a long time, but there's actually it's starting to be tryout season for a lot of the summer league stuff, and so a ton of that stuff going on. Let's watch the corner here. Nice, able to clear. So Vlora, I think, is up first. They have tryouts on Tuesday at 8:30 in the Vadnais Heights Dome. I probably will try and go watch that. Really shout out to the teams that let us just go watch, not for posting the ins and outs of the tryout, but just get a vibe of the players and talk to the staff. But also let us post the ins and outs of the tryout. Rochester, I believe that this is for the W League team, and Rochester has tryouts on Saturday. Aurora has tryouts on Saturday. Blackhawks have tryouts on Sunday. I believe Sioux Falls City has their sort of double tryout day on Monday, both the morning and the afternoon. I also saw them announce they're doing like a fun dual session with a team down in Omaha after that, which is kind of cool. I hadn't seen that, so that's kind of cool. It's starting to be that time, and I'm sure I missed some teams, but it's fun. You get if people want us to be there, whatever, yeah, message us, because like I like going to those when I can. It's often when I'm working anyway, but I mean it's fun to go try to watch. It's honestly extremely difficult to gauge talent from just the tryout part. I mean, so it's kind of it's a nice test of being like, can I pick any of these players who are going to get signed? Like, well, the best. Yeah, I'm like,
well, and
I was able to say that Chris Delia was good.
The player at Aurora's first tryout
from the Big Ten. Yeah, I was able to identify. You know what? She's good. I think sign her. But she was the best at that open trial by a lot at that open trial.
At the first one, for sure. I forgot to also mention Superior City has tryouts deeper into January, I believe on Sunday, January 19th.
Up in the Bay. Yeah, teams do it, I think, in like Sioux Falls City. I think they have more in like January. It's like, so people, there's a whole season of it, December through January.
Yeah.
There's a lot of
open. And we mentioned, I mean, I have no idea if any players are watching this. Usually it's a lot of family, but if players are watching this, teams do get like their roster through that process. Like when we went, so last year as a good example, I went to the Aurora tryouts, and I think, I would write down numbers because I don't always know like everyone who's there, and so I'm writing down numbers or like, tall holding midfielder looked good, or this center back looked pretty good. And I think in my notes when I went back and checked and talked to like the Aurora coaches, I think a huge chunk of Aurora 2 came from that open tryout, like a huge chunk. And almost all of them were like players I had noted because they, like Mark said, the only talent ID Mark and I are capable of is like clearly good.
No, I'm capable of a lot, but it's very tough at an open tryout. It honestly is. Like you have to focus. You're like, okay, I'll focus on a couple players to kind of watch them to see if I can get a gauge. Like, okay, but I want to watch all of them. And it's like, so that's why, I mean, a lot of it is coaches having previous recommendation and then they get a little confirmation at a tryout, or it's like they see something very special. But no, it's a tough way for a player. Like you don't get to show yourself perfectly. There's no way to maximize your exposure. You have to be lucky sometimes.
I think open tryouts are like completely bonkers. Like
as someone who's never got a job from anywhere that didn't have someone who knew me, they're like, no. Would I ever have made anything wrong? No.
Well, the other funny thing about a tryout setting, some danger there.
Ooh.
Cal Poly has really been putting pressure on this defensive unit. I mean, like the Mavs defensive unit has been so busy.
I don't know Pomona specifically, but I know Cal Poly is like a very like an academic wing of the Cals. Like this must be these women at 4.0s. Like these are some highly academic dorks and also shredding. Because a Cal Poly system that's like it's like Cal's MIT shit. But,
Cal Poly is. I have no idea if Cal Poly Pomona is.
Well, maybe this is the jock one. We don't know.
The tryout stuff is so crazy because I've regularly had players where, for example, like sometimes a team will have rostered players play in the tryout so that you have a level of play you can count on.
You can compare. You can.
Well, and so, but for instance, like the Aurora tryout is the one I keep referencing because, frankly, not all these teams used to do open tryouts, so we haven't been to that many teams open tryouts. The Aurora one, there were some returning players who like I knew could play at a high level, but even though they were already rostered, like don't show. Like when you watch the tryout, it's just really hard because you don't know how much to do the me stuff. Oh, that's a clutch post save.
And might I say, shout out to Colette, because I love that this last summer you agreed that we could get the list of players at the tryout this winter, that we could see it. I love that you said that, and you agreed that we could know who's trying out and we could see it. That's cool. So Colette, shout out. Love you. See you soon.
I think Mark is inventing it into reality, and it's something that she said. Because
you're undercutting your own coverage. It's fun for us to have to try to identify players from afar.
Yeah. And I will say too, with the UPSL expansion and all the UPSL teams, there finally are some summer league teams that are just like ridiculously cool in terms of player representation. So like you have players who never played any college, you have players who only played in like maybe like one ethnic league or another.
Skills FC last summer in the UPSL was like they suffered, like they lost a lot of games, but it was like truly just like people who don't get any of the shine opportunities. And it was like, I had a woman we interviewed one player who she's like a prison guard cop, and she had never played even in college. But she was good enough that it's like, no, she's like a vet on this UP. So though there are really fun stories.
Well, and to shout out while we're watching Mankato, Kira Laney played on Aurora too, and she looked great for them. She looked the way she looks for the Mavs, which is she's just a really savvy, athletic outside back, and a ton of these players we're watching today play on Mankato United in the second half.
We're going to give them plenty of shine in the second half.
So we'll talk about them later, but just to let folks know why we're not talking about these players. But the tryout stuff is absolutely crazy. I will say too, while we're covering D2,
she's wearing a hat, by the way. The keeper's wearing
just a headband. No, it's a thick headband.
Just with braids coming through. Okay.
But the summer league is also a place where like a cross divisional, like D3 kids playing with D2 kids, playing with D1 kids, playing with kids who have never played, so it's
high schoolers,
so it's a really cool way to have more of these players represented, but it's also a really cool mix. Like a player like Kira Laney plays with a handful of D1 players, and she plays, Mac Rath from Minnesota State Mankato was a keeper on that team, so it's just a cool mix. It also was kind of funny because there's some cross NSIC stuff that happens. So then you get like St. Cloud players playing with Mankato players and Bemidji players. And so it ends up being kind of fun for that, just for that.
Yeah, especially in the local WPSL and whatever. Yeah. Now we're at halftime. I mean, crazy goal for Minnesota State.
Yeah.
Even though we'll see, we got some guests coming in the second half, huh?
Rustin Lucky, I believe his title is general manager. He is the do-it-all, everything for Mankato United down there. He also has broadcasted some of these Mavs games, I think, as the color analyst. So he knows this team inside out. His daughter, I believe, a former player on the squad. So we'll probably just take a quick break during half and come back, and Rustin will be joining us, and go Mavs.
Yep. Later.
The Subaru Share the Love event means the world to me.
You can get a great vehicle and support a good cause.
Nearly $320 million donated to charity.
Get 2.9% for 72 months, and Subaru and our retailers will make a minimum $300 donation to charity.
Y'all see this? Patrick Mahomes is saying goodbye. People was tripping.
Where are you going?
He was actually saying goodbye to his old phone.
I'm switching to the amazing new iPhone 16 Pro at T-Mobile.
It's the first iPhone built for Apple Intelligence. That's like peanut butter on jelly on gold. Get 4 iPhone 16 Pro on us. Plus 4 lines for $25. And save on every plan versus the other big guys. What a deal. That's a lot if you ask me. If y'all giving it away too fast, T-Mobile, slow down.
Yellow. Didn't pass the tissue test?
Dr. Garcia?
Buckle up.
Whoa! Reality checkup!
There's toothpaste white, and then there's Crest 3D White Strips white. Oh, one sec.
Crest 3D White Strips safely work below the enamel surface to whiten like a $400 professional treatment.
Prepare for a non-stop smile.
The #1 teeth whitening brand in America. And use Crest 3D White toothpaste to maintain your smile. Crest.
All right, back for the second half. Mavs and Cal Poly are tied 1-1. Mavs scored early on a fantastic rebound that Kovacs put in with a nice sort of waist-high volley, which was just super impressive. And then kind of an unfortunate, like a little unlucky, a little unfortunate to give up the goal they did. Basically rolled in from distance, sort of slowly hit that far corner. But still tied up 1-1, 45 minutes to go. Looked up Cal Poly. Mark, do you want to guess?
I just pulled up Wikipedia. Are we twins? Yeah.
They are. I mean, so.
I didn't look at details. Ask me a question. Yeah.
Well, their enrollment. Did you look at enrollment?
Did I just see 27,000?
Yeah, 29.
Damn.
20.
Wait, though. But is that the Cal State system?
No, I think it's this. That's huge. I mean, I think that must be like one of the biggest D2s. That's a big. I mean, we should say too. Minnesota State Mankato is a pretty big institution themselves.
Huge.
But they're more like 15,000 undergrad.
Minnesota. I call them Minnesota State, and I apologize. We'll say it again because growing up in Minnesota, people always called it Mankato State. So I apologize. I try my best to always say Minnesota State. Like I respect the branding, and we love them. Look, we're in the championship game. We love the Mavericks. They're playing.
Of course we do.
Yeah, of course. We're all Mavs right now.
Of course we do. We're all we're doing the horns thing. I think they're one of the ones that does the horns.
Like the dude in Big Green.
I think they do this, but also or no? Am I doing a yoke?
That's Texas, bro.
No, but this is. I'm telling you.
Do they do it?
I'm telling you. Yeah.
We'll ask.
Well, no, it's on the. It's on the Insta content.
Own it then. Okay, you're doing Texas. Yeah.
It's on there.
270. A lot of people watching. Thank you guys for watching. I'm assuming it's a lot of Minnesota State fan, and yeah, I love it. Thank you, and to other coaches from the NSIC. This is so fun.
Yep, gotten a few messages from folks who are watching along. Appreciate it. In particular, the NSIC and D2, like this being a public stream, is why we're willing to do these watch-alongs, just because it's publicly available. We're happy to amplify it. I think for an earlier Minnesota State Mankato playoff game, I also just literally streamed the game straight to Twitter just to try and get more eyeballs on it. So, I mean, anything we can do to try and spread the word. We kind of mentioned earlier when we were chatting with Kevin, or even just when you and I were chatting, but just the idea of like how high quality, D2 can be, like how high the player quality can be. The games are always going to be based on what the two teams are or whatever. So you'll see scrappy soccer, but I watch a lot of scrappy D1 soccer too. I just think the individual player mix is so impressive. And like one thing we didn't talk about in the first half when Jenny was here was a lot of the times in the NSIC, and you've seen it with sort of big time champions from the NSIC, you'll see sort of like a singular, overly star forward just dictate how a game goes. And so like, the Jenny Vetter, actually, we're going to bring in our guest because he's going to bring some insights into this too. We got Rustin Ludke. Rustin, thanks so much for joining us.
How are you guys?
Good. Rustin, you already got name dropped once in the first half, and not even by us. We had Kevin Beisman on. Mark asked him how he makes it to all these games, and he said, you guys had a great back-to-back. You watch the Minnesota State women's soccer team on Thursday, hop in a car, drive to Georgia, watch the football game, and you two were just road tripping it. What was it like on the road to see them get the win in the semis?
Kevin and I, if you've watched the movie Dumb and Dumber, that's exactly what that was like. But
which one are you? Which one are you then?
I think I was on the front of the moped.
Are you Jim Carrey or are you Daniel? Yeah.
Jim Carrey for sure.
Okay. Oh, wow. Okay.
We'll take it.
No, it was a full day. So the semifinal win had me jazzed enough to do the 7-hour drive. I didn't even have to ask for help from Kevin. And
did the whole thing.
Yeah, I did the whole thing.
It's only 7. That's not. Yeah, okay.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, 7 hours with traffic. We could have probably done it in 6.5, but there was some traffic getting out of Charlotte area and accidents and whatnot. So
man, that's a haul. Well, I wanted to bring you in because one point I was about to make is there's been times where sort of the powerhouse team in the NSIC, the winning team, is driven at least in some part by like a singularly fantastic forward that is just undeniable. You know, like the Rachel Norton era, you know, Bemidji State teams, the Jenny Vetter era Mankato teams, where the whole roster is quality too. It's nothing against the rest of the team, but when you have a literal All-American forward, it tends to help you win games. This year's Mavs team, the reason I thought of it is it's been like, man, every game it's a different person coming up clutch, of like Maylee Mathis in the conference tournament and the early rounds, and then Marin Johnson in the semis, and you got Archer in, you know, some of these earlier games. You got Kovacs today. Like, the goal scoring and the egalitarian like production has been I think unique, or at least on another level from this year's squad. But you watch this team a ton. You've announced, you know, a lot of these games. You watch all this stuff. Does it feel that way to you? Because you obviously see them much more than me.
Yeah, I mean, if you have a preference of having a star and then surrounded by a good cast of characters, or just a really elevated cast of characters in general, I just love the makeup of this squad. You know, there's somebody on the game that can always, or in the game that can always win you that game. The other thing I really like about this squad, you know, obviously their numbers and save percentages and all those things show it, but I mean, defensively, they're really, really sound. You know, in the semifinal game, we had some luck. We had to scramble a little bit.
Yep.
We're getting a little bit of that in this one too. A little love for the right post, as well as some other things. But this team has the makeup to make this kind of run. The freshman class that came in is uber talented. The freshman class that came in last year is uber talented. So I love what Brian and team have done to just elevate the overall makeup of the team.
Yeah. Well, and you're such a staple down in Mankato too. You know, I think I probably first met you for sure several years ago when you helped launch, or did so much to launch, the Mankato United WPSL team. Of course, Mankato United is also the name of like the entire umbrella club, right? Like that's so long-standing, you know, club system set up down there. When you added the WPSL team, sort of from the beginning, but especially the last few years, Mark and I are always shouting you guys out just because the broadcast quality is so good, and it just makes it so easy to cover and so easy for us to amplify you guys. But you also, a ton of the Mavs on this roster, or at least last summer, played on your squad because for D1 players, you're capped at 5 players from a college program, and D1 in D2 there isn't a cap. And so a huge chunk of these talented folks are watching today also play in Mankato over the summer. Oh, dangerous ball in. So just talk about that in terms of this being such a hotbed for you guys in that summer league.
Yeah, I think I did a quick count before. Oh, no. Ouch.
Oh, no.
That is not good.
A penalty.
Yeah. We'll have to see what happens. Claire's pretty good at these, but the scoring chances are really high on PKs. So, yeah, community club, and we get really fortunate to be connected with MSU in a way that, you know, they trust us to work with a lot of their players.
Down in the box at that point, it's going to be a PK. She says, no.
Well, we won't get sound. Let's just take a second and we'll watch this. As you mentioned, it's Claire Longville still in there.
So real quick, I met with Claire after the game, and 32 that took the penalty kick in the semifinal.
Yeah.
She had taken 7. She went in the same spot all 7 times, and Claire knew it.
So here we go. We'll see.
So good homework.
We'll see if the scouting paid off against Cal Poly Pomona as well. I believe, was it number 1 taking it? Number 7. I believe it's Marissa Salazar.
Let's see.
Yep.
Ooh, clinical.
Yeah.
Oh, goddamn.
That was perfect.
She had it picked out. She knew where it was going. It just had a lot of pace on it.
I mean, it's basically unsavable.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was a perfect PK.
She picked the right side. I think she probably had some good coaching and kind of had an idea where she was going. And
wow. Yeah. Look. For
that had pace.
Oh.
Couldn't have done. You couldn't have even that was enough.
That's
even diving right. Yeah.
You would need go gadget arms for that
Yeah,
one.
for sure. Well, yeah. So before we had the big PK, we were just talking about Mankato United. We've always shouted you guys out for doing such a good game day environment too. A fun little stadium at Bethany Lutheran. But the broadcast is just, I think, maybe truly, one of the best broadcasts in the country, outside of professional leagues. I mean, it's just really high quality. But also then we got into, you have tons of these Mavs on the squad. And I mean, like literally 14 plus, I think, last season or something. So a lot of this talent gets to stay home and play in Mankato over the summers.
Yeah, it's really great. You're talking about tryouts, and we've been very fortunate. We haven't done tryouts in the past. We haven't had to. So usually, I would say maybe roughly half of our roster is filled with MSU players, whether those are current players or grads that had played there before.
Yeah,
we got a nice base of community players that have gone somewhere, D2, D3, D1, like the McKenna Beismans of the world come back and play, and and then we also just have a good network of coaches at the D2 and D3 level where we can reach out, great conversations with players, get some good insight on the players on how they're going to fit into our squad, and have been able to make a roster of 28 to 30 players and be competitive. And like you said, deliver what I'd like to say is one of the best, well-rounded, all-around products for what we do, right? And so we're blessed to be in Mankato and to have access to the Bethany Studios, which is a mini ESPN, and have that tied in with fiber into a soccer-specific stadium, and have just unbelievable locker rooms and just a great environment. So we really happy with all the access and the things that we have here in Mankato to deliver a great product for our players.
Yeah, and you've had, I'm trying to remember, like in my head, it's sticking out, like players from maybe Omaha. Where are some of the places where folks from outside, maybe who don't have Mankato roots or are not like a Mankato State, Minnesota State Mankato player, where are some of those places where there's been good landing spots of like, oh yeah, you've got a player from, Omaha, which is a good Summit League D1, or what are some of those landing spots that have been most consistent for you guys?
Yeah, I would say Summit League, and that's probably true for quite a few of the teams that are in the WPSL, has been really good, whether it's USD, SDSU, UNO. Those have all been really good landing spots. I'd flip the coin. We've also done really good finding just kind of hidden gems at the D3 level where we're like, what's this player doing at this college? Like she could be playing at such a higher level, but it's, it's the college, it's the program, it's whatever drew that person to that specific institution. And so we've gotten very fortunate on both sides of that coin, I think.
Yeah. Who are some of those D3s who have been standouts for you? I'm trying to think back.
Like Ashley Casper from Bethany Lutheran. You don't think of Bethany as a soccer powerhouse, or the conference as necessarily a soccer powerhouse either. But I mean, Ashley would hold down the center midfield for us, and just such an athletic player. Marit Klage last year from St. Olaf was fantastic ad for us as well, and just a dynamic, fast, gritty player. Every year we end up with one or two, maybe three of those that you're like, wow, what a hidden gem.
Yeah, we said in the first half, the summer leagues are, there's a lot of challenges to it, of like the logistics, the quick build, the quick season, trying to balance all these things. And so there's a lot of things that make it tough for us to cover then, because like the rosters aren't always easy to find and all that information. But easily one of my favorite things about these summer league squads is the mix of players and the mix of player backgrounds and the mix of player levels and all that stuff. And we talked in the first half, Kira Laney, one of the few Mavs who doesn't play down there with you guys, went up and played with, or at least last summer played with Aurora too. But I remember watching that team, and we don't quite have the bandwidth to cover D3. In Minnesota, that would be adding like 20 teams to our, so we don't really have the bandwidth, but it's still, like you said, it doesn't mean there isn't great talent there or there aren't great players. I remember the first time getting to watch Mandy Elton, the former All-American from St. Kate's. I remember watching her in the UPSL, like playing for Aurora too. And you're just like, well, yeah, she's an All-American. You know, it's like at a certain point, the level becomes irrelevant when you're talking about someone who's truly like one of the 15 best players at what they do. You know, Gabby Cesaroni was a D3 All-American for Wash U.
Oh,
that is heartbreaking.
Same post. Same post. We got to go to the other side. That post is cursed.
Flip it. Wow, that was nuts. Oh, that was so close.
Darn it.
You know, like Cesaroni was an All-American. Oh, let's take a look. Great replay angle.
Wow.
That's so heartbreaking. Such a clutch. Like, I was Archer trying to get one on there.
So close.
But, like, you know, the hardcore equal time fans will remember like how obsessed I was with Gabby Cesaroni. Was a All-American at Wash U, which is D3 down in St. Louis, and she came up and immediately was an above average Big Ten center back for the Gophers. You know, just comes in, and that's just absurd. I mean, and so like Mandy Elton and other like D3 stars like that, it just shows, you know, like you said, they might be going based on fit or a certain academic program, or like they want to stay close to home or they want to get away from home. You know, like you never know how these players choose. And so the summer leagues in Minnesota are some of the best places to see them get to showcase themselves sort of against quote unquote higher level players too. So you see Mandy Elton, she can just play. Like she's just out there playing, whether she's playing against a D1 center back or a D2 center back or a D3, you know, players can play. And so that's what makes the summer stuff fun, is you get to see those moments where it's like, imagine how cool it is for her to be like, I always knew I was good, but I never got to prove myself against like random, you know, Gophers or D1 players. And then you get that in the summer. It's just such a fun dynamic because of that.
Yeah. I like the other side of that too is you get these high school players, right, that are really, really good. Like like my daughter was a finalist for Miss Minnesota High School State. You know, Jenny Vetter, her first year. You know, the coaches and I just joked that Jenny got out all her bad shots during that summer, right? And went on to be a much better player at MSU because she just, you know, she had the summer to figure out the speed of the game. You know, more tendencies, how quickly you have to make decisions, and just what works in high school isn't always going to work at the college game, even at a D3 level.
Yep, totally.
So I love it. I love it for that too. You know, you end up having maybe 4 or 5 high school players that start out a little shaky, but by the time they go to their college program and they've figured a few things out during the summer by playing, they're just better for their high school program that year.
Totally. That's a great example, because especially we cover so much college, but we don't cover the high school or club level just because, again, like bandwidth thing. And it's so one of the most rewarding parts of covering like college age players is you really get to see them at a point of like pretty crazy growth possibility of like, you see like an 18-year-old, the first time a freshman or a first year has to play against like 22-year-old women after playing high school is so nuts. I mean, because you're playing against someone who might be literally 50 pounds heavier than you, or like so much stronger, so much more composed, like so much more physically demanding. And so it is this good adjustment of, at least you don't get the shock value of experiencing that in August. You get to live through it in May, June, and July, because it's like, if you don't cover the players the age we do, you don't see like the dramatic difference between looking at like someone who's 17 and early enrolling in the spring before they even like were graduated, and then you see like a 23-year-old and you just see how big of a difference that is. Like if you're not around college age athletes, you don't see how big of a gap that can be of like, oh my God, I look like a kid playing against adults, because I kind of am.
Well, and then when they get into a college program, and depending on what the focus is, you know, whether that's endurance or lifting or whether, I mean, they come back after their freshman year and they might be 10 pounds heavier, but it's all muscle, right? Sure. And their speed is improved, and just the way they see the game has improved. So it's fun. It's fun to watch that growth, and be in Mankato, just have kind of that kind of access as well to a few different programs where I've got kind of some insight into just watching these players develop.
Yeah. Well, then I'm curious too. We generalize that the summer league usually gets used for sort of a handful of reasons. Like if you're a player, typically you're choosing to play over the summer for like one of a handful of reasons. Either you just love playing, so you're going to play no matter what, so you want to play. Or you're someone who is maybe didn't get a ton of games in college and wants to just get game time. Like I've been training, but I want games. I need games.
Come on. Oh, come on. Oh,
that was, wow.
There were so many games this weekend, bartending, soccer games. There were so many EPL games that had stuff like that. Oh my God, that was so close.
Ooh, danger.
How was it, Rustin? How much do you watch soccer that isn't? I'm assuming you're invested in watching Minnesota State, but how much other soccer do you watch? Because I watch bits and I bartend for soccer, but actually how many games I watch, it's not that many. How do you consume the game kind of casually?
Yeah, I have friends that they probably don't have to DVR it anymore, but they have access to all the recorded games, and literally if they can't sleep at night, that's what they do all night. I'm not quite to that level. I mean, I love watching Premier League games. I've been very fortunate to go to a Premier League game, to go to a Bundesliga game. And they're so fun. Been to several different MLS games. Went to St. Louis this summer for a game. That was fun, just to kind of go experience a different MLS stadium. So I don't know. I'm just kind of all over the board, really. I don't have a really dedicated. I mean, I know who my favorite teams are.
Who are your teams in the Premier League and Bundesliga? Do you have who's your team?
So Bundesliga, because of the way things went for us and how we got invited, my friend and I got invited to go over. We actually got invited by some friends of Naby Keita to go watch Red Bull play Bayern. Yeah, cool. So I'm kind of a Red Bull guy just because I've got some Red Bull gear.
I mean,
that's great. And then I'm a Liverpool guy. So.
Right on. Well, this is a Liverpool bar. Got to get down here, Rustin. This is the Liverpool play. This is the place. Yeah. Get down. It's a good year for us, man. We're rolling.
Yeah. Matt, you were talking about different reasons why people go and come and play during the summer. One of my favorite stories is Nicole Dewar during our 2019 run. She came in a little late, but because she hadn't heard about the program getting started in Mankato, she's an All-American for MSU. She was probably 27 or 28 at the time. And she wanted her son to know that she could play at a high level of soccer. She was so excited when her son came to the games, and she's like, I just wanted to know that, basically mom was a stud.
That's great. I love that.
And it was
so
great.
much.
She got her legs back underneath her and she played well, and it was a lot of fun.
Those are the best summer league stories. We have those where I was saying to Matt, where it's we might have mentioned in the first half, I had a player from Skills FC who it's never even played in college because no one offered her, right? And then she was a prison guard at a county jail or a state jail, and then was she was playing in Hispanic leagues and just joined Skills FC and the UPSL. I'm that's fucking cool, man. They're can I? And also I think Matt, I forget the coach. It might have been the Aurora 2 head coach, Maddie, who was maybe she had done that too, where she gave up and then she's as an adult, I want to play summer league to see if I can keep doing this. And they did. And it's it's
cool. It's of all the cool things about it, that's why when I say the different types of player stories, that's maybe the single coolest. And and especially in the summer, the age ranges really get kind of nuts. I mean, you have players maybe in their 30s, and then you have players as young as 16 or 15. And that's just, that's just ripe for, cool interactions like that and cool stories. And obviously all of us are hardcore, soccer nerds. And so we also we're the target market for all of these stories, but it's just, it's so cool. And even down, I love that's a running joke I have is man, I want these leagues to have literal parents in them. I want moms in these leagues. That is so cool to just have that age and experience, but also you said, the reason being I want my kid to know I was an absolute boss.
Yeah. Well, and she literally that summer we had to pull up some high school players just because the roster was a little thinner, and I didn't know how to fill out a roster. I didn't realize how many players you need because of work and vacations and injuries and those types of things. So I think I had a roster of low 20s and thought I was set, and about halfway into the season realized no way, not even close. pulled up some high school players, and Nicole would affectionately call herself the grandmother of the team.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. There's for the roster stuff in the summer. I don't know if we've talked about this like a ton. But it's part of the reason it's crazy is like people have conflicts and people have whatever, and then also basically teams.
Hit it, Avery.
Oh. It was like just beyond frame. That was nuts.
That was
about 2 feet too high, maybe.
That was a good hit.
Yeah.
That was. Oh wait, another look at it.
She had one at Central Mo. Well, it was a little closer than that, but man, got time. We got time.
Oh my gosh,
we've got time. That was dipping too a little bit.
Wow. So part of the roster management stuff really is a sort of team by team choice of. Honestly, part of why you need either a smaller or bigger roster is sort of what expectation you're setting for your group of players. So like when we started covering summer stuff, the reputation for summer leagues at that time were that like, yes, the talent was pretty real. Cause when we started, there was only like 5 summer league teams in the, like, even like the upper Midwest. Like Minnesota, I think, had 2 teams the first year I covered it. And so the density used to be sort of nuts. I mean, you had really, really dense, like player quality. Ooh.
Yeah. I think it was the Fire team and
Twin
Cities.
Stars. Twin Stars. And then, and so the one cynical thing about back then, or the stereotype about summer league soccer, is that players sort of show up whenever they want, or like that's like the negative, the cynical piece of like, well, not only they might have work and conflicts, but they might also just literally the expectation, or put it another way, the expectation isn't always that players will be there every single game. And so like the more strict you are on that spectrum of like, no, we only want players who are at every game, at every training, blah, blah, blah. Like, yes, barring some like wedding or funeral or whatever, like of course that, but, and so basically the spectrum you choose to be on, where you are on that spectrum dictates how big of a roster you need. So like,
for sure.
If you only have 22 players, that's really only possible if there's literally no injuries at all. There's literally no one misses any games at all, which is insane to expect for the summer. And so that's why you see even teams that are quote unquote like strict about player commitment still have to be like in the mid to upper 20s, like 26, 20, 28, whatever, because even just regular rotation, let alone people being like out or being on a trip or having an internship or whatever. So that's why you see, that's what also makes covering the summer league sometimes a little more difficult. If, for instance, a team is less organized than you guys and they have no stated roster, we can't, unless I literally know every player on the field, it's going to rotate so much game to game that you're like, man, I don't even know who I'm watching. Like, I don't even know who this is.
We won't name names, but I can agree with you.
most names. It would be most teams. Yeah. So, look, we love every league we cover. It is a problem in every single league. Yeah, W League, USL, USLW, WPSL.
It's a challenge, and the reason Rustin can appreciate the stress of it is because it also is a challenge for the peer teams then, because you can't.
You want to have something to go.
For instance, like of all of my silly pet peeves that I whine about in these shows, or whine about if you chat with me at the bar or whatever, it's like, for example, if a team just sort of grabs jerseys on a pile like it's recess and there's no set numbers.
Oh yeah, you're saying the numbers
that alone means that no one can scout your team. Yeah. So first of all, it creates a sporting issue. Like, you know, you literally can't scout the other team because you don't know which number 8 is number 8. Because also these streams are not in 4K. You're watching, you need to be able to know what the number means, because you're not gonna be able to pick out a player. You need to know that 10 means 10, 8 means 8. Yeah. And so even that decision, that single decision the team makes, basically makes a league, like, takes the sporting level down a half a grade. Just one single decision. And so we're not trying to blow up like individual teams, a ton, way more teams than you would think do that, way more than you would think.
Yeah, it's crazy. Well, and honestly, I mean, I'm thinking about Ashley Casper. Her grandparents and family are all out in Napa Valley area, right? And so they wouldn't come watch a game; they're watching the stream.
Yeah.
And so I'm sure that, you know, they obviously know what Ashley looks like, what her gait and her run. But if it's a bad stream, and you can't make out numbers or that type of, and it's constantly changing. Like I don't even know how her grandparents fell in love with like what we were doing. They're like, we love you guys. This is so great.
there are pro players who do that. Like Giassi's artist is the most blatant one with the Galaxy. Like he's like, no, I have bleach hair because my grandma can see that it's me.
Yeah.
But like there are other people who do that. I've seen that with women where they wear a headband. It's like they know like, oh, well, my family can see me. And like, okay, I love it. I mean, I love that.
That's great. Well, and Rustin, is there anything about, obviously, you know, there's to say off the top too, it is so much work, the amount of work you put in to make that team run the way it runs. It is like or to put it another way, any summer league team that you see as a fan of Equal Time that you think is run well, basically the only way that happens is by people absolutely working their butts off to a level you have no idea how much work it is. Like you would have no idea
for no money. It is not. This is for the love. It's the love of the game. Zero. Confirming zero. Yes.
The amount of time and energy someone like Rustin puts in to make the Mankato United like fan experience, sporting experience, even okay, let alone good, is so much you would have no idea. And so I'm sure there's a lot of stuff going on, I'm sure whatever, but is there anything you want to tease for next summer, or anything about the club, you know, that's exciting for next year, or anything about it that we haven't covered recently?
Or kick off a Patreon so people start giving you guys a monthly something.
Right. Okay, hold on. In the box.
Wow.
I guess our goal is every year just to make the program, you know, that much better, right? So most of what we do is through heavy lifting and volunteerism and those types of things. So every year we try to add something. Like last year, we made the gate free, and we found sponsors to sponsor each game day, which was so cool. We had so many more.
That's cool, because that is one of the ways small teams try to make profit is like some game day tickets, but like it's cool for you to do it in that way because it makes it's inclusive. It's cool. I love that.
And I would argue you didn't have to have the staff at the door and you know, people taking, you know, money and figuring out, can I get some more ones to make some change? It was such a refreshing experience. And honestly, there were teams that then came together because they knew that they could all come into the game and they could all watch for free. And we had a really cool, I think it was our home opener. One of the U12 teams formed like the line, you know, where they put their hands up and everybody runs underneath it.
That's great.
So our players came in after halftime, coming out of the locker room to running underneath the tunnel.
That's great.
Yeah. So, like I said, every year we're just trying to do, good job, Claire. Just trying to do everything just a little bit better than we did the year before. You know, we try to keep a good social media presence and keep that line of communication open. We try to keep the line of communication open, honestly, with the coaches as well, right? The summer, most of the players, I will say, believe that the college season is their primary season.
For sure.
And 9 out of 10 times I would say that's the case, right?
Yep.
And so you have to be really, really sensitive and have an open line of communication, because you don't want to burn out players during the summer. You just want to keep them fit.
Yep.
You want to keep them playing on their edge, send them back happy, maybe give them a few keys and things during the summer, but you don't want to burn them out. And so that's kind of the position that we're in, where we focus on current and active players for the most part to fill out our roster. There's so many dynamics that go into it. And every year is just a little different wrinkle. So I learned something every year.
Yeah, that's great. Well, I love also one of your fun elements you do at game day is the fan of the game or whatever it is. And then they get the Mankato United scarf, and then it's a picture with the scarf. One of the reasons I think it's so successful is because the scarf is also like visually cool looking. So like the picture, it's such an active, I was trying to find it. I have one around here somewhere, but it's also so striking that like when it's in your feed, you always look at it because the pattern is on there. So it's like such a smart way to use like a very distinctive soccer scarf too.
Yeah.
I had to come into the bar at like 7 a.m. this morning. So I do have a Mankato United scarf, and I was intending to grab it. And guess what? I was just tired enough that I was like, no, we can talk about it instead. But I do. Shout out to Mankato. I do have one.
You're killing me. You're killing me.
It's wrapped. It's in my home. It's up on the hollowed walls. Yeah, we love it.
Yeah. Well, when we first started, we went with the knit kind of the traditional scarf.
Yeah.
Quickly pivoted to, hey, we're a summer league and it's 95 degrees out. So we
Yep.
went with more of the technical scarf for the second go around.
Love that's like, I think the one I have is the knit one, which is good because I wear soccer scarves in the winter. But like you said, now that these teams can do the lighter weight ones, like this, basically it's much nicer. It's very nice.
Yeah. Shout out. We use Die Hard scarves.
Okay.
That's who we've used. So shameless plug for those guys, but they've been good to us. I know there's other scarf companies out there too, but Die Hard does a really good job. So
okay, well, maybe we'll reach out to Die Hard and see if they want to do an equal time scarf. I don't know that anyone has asked us for that, but we could just do it anyway.
Why not? You got shirts, you got gear, right?
That's true.
Complete the ensemble.
Yeah, right there. There we
you go.
Like it. Well, Rustin Lucky, I believe general manager would be your title, but that, if anything, undersells the sheer amount of stuff you do for the club. Have always been a great partner for us. Anytime I'm curious about stuff down in Mankato, Rustin has always been super, super helpful. And so just a great quality product you all have built down there in Mankato. And a big part of it is the great relationship with Minnesota State, Mavs that we're watching today. And appreciate you, Rustin. Thanks so much for joining us.
Absolutely. Got to get the Go Mavs, do it the right way.
Yeah. Thanks, bud. Let's do it. We're coming back. We're coming back, baby.
All right.
Yeah. Good talking with you guys. Go Mavs.
Man. Love it.
That's great. Yeah. I love the, even when they did the free gate, I guess I could have asked him even when he was on. I'm curious if they did see that increase in attendance, because it's always such a funny competing school of thought thing where like there's some folks who say like, well, if you give away tickets for free, like,
I think it's a small enough dollar amount that doing it free makes enough an impact.
I love the idea of the way they did it, which is you got a gate sponsor.
Yeah.
And so that's because it's also a really nice, like, that's such a good vibes promotion for that person, like for that to be what they sponsored. So it's
not that much. I'm sure it's very affordable.
Well, and I didn't mention this part when Rustin was on, but that's in line with what he and they have always done a fantastic job of, which is, so people maybe forget, but like before Aurora was on the scene, it was basically unheard of for summer league teams to do any of that sponsor development. There was basically no teams doing like like a jersey sponsor and a partner with this and a partner with that. They were like, everyone obviously sees Aurora because it's visible and it's whatever. And like they're, whatever. Mankato United was doing a lot of that work like years ago. They were and the way we sometimes talk about the NSIC, they were owning their market. Like they were
cultivating the local business market in Mankato.
Which is huge, because it's the same reason why no matter how big your market is, if you can get a couple hundred people to a game, like it's going to feel a lot more fun. And you're only going to get above 100 people if you're beyond the family and friend group. And to do that, you have to have an intention to do so,
Yeah, no, they have maximized the potential of the soccer market there in the way that, we had, and I don't know if we have named that, also Mackenzie Rath, who is from, played at Minnesota State. She had a NWSL little cup of tea, if you were English, but she was there with the Wave for a little bit. So amazing for this team to have players being pros.
And she hasn't played there a ton of seasons, but actually Annie Williams, who's an equal time favorite, played at least one season down there too. They're just, obviously we're broken records about this, but just teams that actually build a quality broadcast, that build a game day experience, that, because these players deserve it. Players deserve to be platformed. They deserve to be able to get good tape so they can send that when they want to go pro. They deserve to be able to have fans cheering them on. They deserve to be covered. Like, all of this stuff is players already earned. They already earned it. And it's just the teams that are willing to deliver it. Huge props.
Yeah, makes it, the product looks good because you're presenting it. This is great. It's a new, totally, like we said in the first half, totally neutral site, nothing close to either team. There's still fans there. The camera side does not show. The other side actually has more on the stand that has the camera. So good for the soccer fans getting to see this.
Yeah. Well, I was even talking just about Mankato United, but like this broadcast has been really nice. Well, you can tell why they were chosen. I believe they are like they got chosen. NCAA announces once in a while like their championship hosts, and I think this is one of the ones that got extended. Maybe I can't remember, but you can tell. I mean, even just watching it, it's like, man, anytime they cut to that goal line camera,
no, it's a wonderful soccer stadium. I mean, there are not that many really good ones. Yeah, awesome for them. Shout out! There's so many people watching. It's crazy. 390 people. Mom, what's up? I'll see you in a couple. It might not be a real number.
It might be cumulative.
We don't know.
Still.
Yeah. Mom, I'll see you in a couple weeks at Christmas. I'm guessing one is our mom.
I'm assuming.
It has to. There's no way we'd get to that number without Gene Pavrotsky watching. Oh, what a save. Holy shit.
Did she get a touch on it too?
Let's see. I think so. Or they just had the good reach. Yeah.
Wow.
Ooh. Yeah, I mean, it's
still time. There's still time. And here's the deal. This Mavs squad has had to go to PKs. They've had to go through, like, they've been through it.
Just a tremendous amount of 1-goal wins, like where it's like they play tight game. They play tight games. Yeah.
Well, and I don't think we've been listing any of this random stuff throughout, but just, anytime a team has a deep run, obviously, like, the individual awards are going to run with it. Oh my gosh. I think that was just
good save.
That was so. Really individual awards are always going to sort of follow. It's like that's why actually focusing on just like if the team wins, you actually will just get individual awards because you're just more high profile. So, for example, 5 all-region first teamers for them. So Wenninger, Longville, Watt, Laney, and Archer. 3 All-Americans for United Soccer Coaches. There's actually multiple entities that do All-Americans, but those 3 were Wenninger, Archer, and Longville. So sort of like a just cool recognition for these players where like, ooh, that's tough.
Hopefully they get a jacket, they get a plaque, something. You got to get something.
We asked Vetter about that. We asked, I think, was Wendt an All-American? I can't remember.
Yeah, Vetter got a letter jacket for something. I don't know which group.
Did she?
She said, yeah. One of them, All-American.
Maybe was it high school All-American, maybe?
I think so.
Yeah.
And maybe from, I don't know. But, yeah, that was the one. Most people get nothing.
Hey, listen, if you're watching and you either do or want us to or don't care about us making scarves, throw it in the comments, baby. Let us know.
If you work at the UMAC Athletic Conference and want to retroactively award me my academic all-conference certificate from 2010, I think is maybe the year.
Is the issue that you lost it? What are you trying to fix?
They never gave us anything.
Did I get anything? I don't remember.
I had a 4.0. Literally. Was it hard? No. But I did. Yeah.
We got just over 12 minutes to go. I mean, I bet. Oh my gosh. It feels like every single shot Pomona is taking, it feels dangerous off the foot. Like every single shot looks dangerous off the foot.
It's been tough. A lot of middle of the field play. Like it's been tough for Minnesota State to get just into the offensive third. It feels like in the end of this half, like it's been tough. Like So Poly obviously is like holding off. They know what they have to do.
Let's give a shout out to some of these longtime Mavs who I'm just going to assume if they're a senior, they don't have extra eligibility. It's possible they do, but I'll just give a shout out. Claire Longville, a senior. So I'm assuming all these seniors are done, even if they're not. So apologies. Louisa Schromoff is a senior from Lakeville. Lucy Wenninger, a grad student from Ames, Iowa. Ashlyn Watt, one of those highly awarded players I just mentioned earlier, a senior from Adel, Iowa, Adel, I don't know, Adel. Abigail Reef is a grad from Omaha. Jaden Chi is a senior from Tulsa, Oklahoma. I think she maybe also started her career at Tulsa. I think I remember that. Let's see any more. This is a big roster.
It's a lot of seniors. Yeah. Wow.
It's actually wow.
Ooh.
So Kelsey Heller, a senior from Urbandale, Iowa. Let's see. Wow, there's a lot of freshmen on this team. Ava Blackney is a grad from Denton, Texas. So just shout out to them. You know, this likely their last college game, or very possibly their last college game. So shout out to them. The amount of investment these players make to be like high level D2 athletes is just insane. So
most of them are just like also high achieving academic college students, and then they become something else. Yeah. They become something other than an athlete and just thrive. So fun for us to see.
Absolutely wild.
They got time, 10 minutes. Let's go, Mavs.
I tried adding the sound when we do these watch alongs from the NSIC website, the audio actually can carry through. This one, it just wasn't doing it that way. I tried to throw on the audio earlier. Otherwise, I would throw it on now, but it wasn't coming through. So it might just not work the same way. Some dangers.
You have to hear our banter. Yeah.
Got the corner.
They really, I don't know. I wonder like when they swapped out the goal turf area. Like they clearly did a like grass swap. Like
I don't know.
Just to like make it good because it must have got worn out. But it's like it's weird. I haven't seen a grass field like that in a while where there's just it's like a 70s or 80s thing. It's weird. Let's see.
Near post, top of the 6.
Cleared.
Yeah, wow.
Mm-hmm. Honestly, too, like these Mankato players, like Minnesota State players, it's definitely finals time. They're having to do this, and then they're gonna be like, they're like writing final papers, and like, good God.
Yeah, I bet like either last week or next week is for sure. Like, I mean,
so,
wow, yeah, it's a lot of commitment. I mean, it's a lot, and
Which is to say, thank for all the parents who are watching, who are paying some of these bills, because I know if 400 people are watching, there must be parents who are paying some of these college bills. Yeah, so thank you.
Well, hey, I will say, too, one thing that makes covering the D2 schools in Minnesota such a cool, satisfying thing, too, is like, goal kick. I mean, Concordia is a private school right in Midway in our neighborhood, but the vast majority of the Minnesota teams we cover in the NSIC are public schools that actually are really accessible and are really attainable financially. And it does actually, I mean, just because of the way Mark and my values play into what we want to do, it actually does feel good to cover schools that are affordable and programs where, because here's the deal, very, very few of these players are getting significant scholarship money, even in D1. Even in D1, more player, the scholarship money you're getting is either academic, you're getting some athletic money, of course, but like you are having to find your way through like loans or academic scholarship or whatever. And so having these affordable schools actually is, it does make soccer more accessible then, because like players can afford to do it. So,
and also what also helps good coaches stay in place. Not as if any coach is good just because of the fact of the context they're in by being unionized, but these coaches stay because they have solid gigs and it's a good place to be teaching and coaching, and they stay there. And it's like, we have programs that just, I mean, nowhere in professional soccer, no one stays this long. So, of course, sometimes a drawback, but usually we see it's a benefit that we see people build and keep a program going, and they're able to create something that's successful in their own way, whichever one they are. It's like, I mean, most of the teams in the NSIC have long running coaches. I mean,
it's and we should say, maybe not every single institution in Minnesota is like well resourcing their staffs and paying them fantastic.
I mean, we don't know.
But as a rule, in a general sense, it's just something that has elevated, the coaching profession at this level. And to give you an example, I think we've said this on shows before, but like we talked about the Grand Valley State head coaches being poached to go coach in the Big Ten. The reason when a coach leaves a program like Grand Valley State, they're going to like a Big Ten team, is because frankly, like good D2 could pay better than low D1. And so actually
Yeah, it just depends,
you're only going to see a coach leave a good D2 if it's a very substantial jump up. So for example, you know, there are some folks who have gone from the NSIC like to the Summit League, like Brock Thompson was at Mary and now he's at SDSU. But you see longevity in these coaches because it's like some of them would actually take a pay cut by going to like a low D1. And so it's cool to see, only because it means we get, like you said, longer running coaching staffs who have a chance to sort of set things up. Under 6 to go, man, I don't know. I mean,
shout out, by the way, the center ref is looks like just a young woman who's reffing this NCAA championship game. So that's tight. I mean,
it's cool.
Oof.
Oof.
Yeah,
oh,
big for her.
They might need one of these set pieces. Like it's just not. They're not getting.
It's been tough to get anything concrete. Yeah,
Pomona is just like too sturdy in their defensive shape.
You would hold back for sure. Oh, no, I guess on their side.
Let's see how many. I'm gonna pull up how many players have played.
This is going to be great for next year, Minnesota State making it this far. Next year, they'll be the perfect villain for every other team. So anyone who's watching, if there's any coaches of the other NSIC teams, it's going to make it fun next year. Take them down. Let's do it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, these deep runs. Well, and, at the D1 level, we had 2 Minnesotans on the championship squad. UNC won it there. So Claire Gagne and Maddie Deline. I'm sure we'll try and have Maddie Deline on once again. We had Claire on in the fall. Just really, really cool for them. I think I said on a recent watch along or a recent show when Minnesota hosted the Big Ten tournament, a Big Ten coach literally said to me in the press box, because they were here and seeing decent soccer, they're like, oh yeah, maybe we should recruit here more. So like every one of these things matters because you don't know what quirky reason a coach has ignored Minnesota before or what story they heard that made them come here more. So a deep run by a Minnesota program does just lift all boats. I mean, it just does because you don't know why someone pays attention or not.
And then, I mean, they can just reference the fact that, no, I'm from Mankato, a pro player, and still can. There's Jenny's there. Like, it helps. I mean, it helps. CJ Ham is on the Vikings still. The NSIC is relevant, baby. Come on.
Yeah, baby.
Shout out to Duluth Denfeld. I mean, look.
Hey. Mark and I are always going to be extra connected to the NSIC also because we played childhood soccer in a lot of these towns.
Well, and because of our high school credits from Crookston, of course.
So true. College
I'll never forget the 6 college credits I have for a few of them. Yeah, Golden Eagles.
College trig, AP history or college history.
Mine was just history,
and then college composition. Maybe 9 credit, maybe 11, 9.
I didn't get any for the trig. We were too young. 10th grade.
Oh no! I only got it for Calc then.
Calkin, yeah. So fascinating for people.
This is the radio people were asking.
Mom, are you still on? Mom, I love you. See you at Christmas. I mean, that's who would care. Yeah.
Under 4 minutes to go.
It has been so tough for Mankato. Just cannot break to a real chance. It's tough.
That first one they conceded being such a sort of bad luck, weird blind spot thing.
Well, no, it was a full.
It's gonna feel so haunty,
It was a gunky goal. It wasn't.
And those happen all the time. It's just when they happen against you, it's like, bad luck.
They're probably. I'm not gonna jinx it, but they're gonna make them stand there and take silver medals, probably, huh? If they, you have to if they.
Well, I mean, they will get, even if they don't come back.
By the way, still very impressive, incredible, but a bummer at the moment to have to stand there and.
I mean, I'm sure they will literally get like a runner-up trophy. Like there will be a gigantic, cool trophy for the trophy.
And there should be.
Because honestly, even making the semis, because I believe the semis were also a first. You know, like they'd been in the
No,
Elite
it's
Eight.
it's been a
and
long,
so
yeah.
so even making the semis is like just nuts. I mean, it's absolutely crazy.
No,
because
it's
because
incredible.
the level is already so wild. Like by the time and then it's just every single game is so tough. I mean, it's actually kind of similar to the summer stuff we cover, where the regular season is a certain level, the postseason is always a really big jump. It's like that in college too. I mean, it just gets absolutely so tight.
Well, and you just think about like at Minnesota State Mankato, it's like hockey is D1, and then basketball on both sides are really big. Volleyball is really big. Soccer is then below. You know, it's not in the very top tier. So it's like it's just but they're obviously very successful. But it's like it's not as if they are some spoiled program of like no, it's our no. They do it on their own. Like it's cool to see. We all end up rooting for the one team left who's from Minnesota when it's in the tournament like this. So yeah, hopefully in 2 minutes we'll see. Maybe a chance.
I will say too, there's been a lot of like fouls like that in this game that are making me wince. Like a lot of players, like Mankato's playing really hard and like pretty scrappy.
Yeah.
And so even early in the game, there were multiple times where a Pomona player was down where you're just like, oh God, like you just hope it's nothing crazy.
Yeah. They're laying, yeah. Oh my God. Okay. Nah, yeah.
I love. By the way, I love that Rustin mentioned specifically they've never done tryouts, which is kind of. I was like, yeah. I mean,
well, when half your team comes from the town you're in, you don't have to try. No, but
teams didn't used to do them. The first one I went to was I think Aurora's first tryout.
Yeah.
Because it just used to.
Well, and I mean, no, if you are someone who has enough intel and can watch, like you don't have to, but it's like. It's kind of like, why not? I guess for a lot of teams now, where it's like, why wouldn't I see if But I also get it where it's like, no, we know who we got, like, and it's we're not, Oh, what the hell? That was just weird. I don't think it was a foul, but
no, nothing whistled. Wow,
it looked weird. Looked
gunky for sure.
Minute left. So now. Minnesota State has to just, I don't know, try.
Ooh, those are the Pomona parents going nuts.
Mm-hmm.
So Cal Poly Pomona is like just east of downtown LA.
That's just 30 miles. So it is desert though. They're like, they must be just in the desert. Like,
Yeah. I wonder if that, like their conference is the California Athletic Association or whatever. I wonder if they play like earlier times or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oof. No. Okay. Well, that's it then.
There you go.
That's it.
Shout out to Jenny Vetter for joining us in the first half. Mankato legend, both for high school, summer, college. Thanks for Kevin Beisman, the athletic director at Minnesota State Mankato. Thanks to Rustin Ludke, the GM of Mankato United, who has a lot of these Maverick players play for them in the summer. Shout out to everyone who tuned in. Thanks so much.
Yeah, it's good. And also shout out to Pentz Homes.
Shout out to Pentz Homes.
We live in a Pentz home, baby. Yeah.
I'm in one right now. If you're buying, selling, looking to move, always reach out to them. They financially support us, which makes a lot of this coverage possible.
The Podfather.
Nate Pentz and Lydia have helped me buy and sell our last two houses. They are fantastic. Huge shout out to the Mavericks. This is still a historic day, being in their first cup final. They win in the semis on Thursday or this week. Just a big milestone. Congrats to them. Congrats to NSIC. Thanks so much for joining us, guys. We'll have kind of a winter break, but back for tryouts and spring stuff later on. Thanks so much.
Yeah.